Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today we're going to be installing blinds above the window here. Now there's different ways you can install the blinds. You can install them in the wood on the trim right in here. You could install it on the trim here. As you can see, somebody did have it mounted there before. Or you can install it up above, right up here on the sheetrock itself. In this particular case, we decided we're going to put it up on the sheetrock just for personal preference, but that's up to you what you decide to do. All right, now let me bring in, I'm going to show you what kind of tools we're going to need, and then we're going to get this job started, done, and then we're going to go on to the next one. All right, so let me bring in, I'll show you what we're going to use as tools. Okay, now this is an example of what kind of tools you're going to need to install the new blinds, as we have right here. All right, now we're going to put the blinds together in just a minute. I'll come back to that shortly. One thing I want to point out is never use your old brackets to put up a new set of shades. Don't even use the screws, because the screws themselves may be a little bit different. As you can see with these here, the head on this is a little bit thicker. So use the new hardware that comes with the blinds themselves. All right, so as I said, this is the drill. It also can be doubled as a Phillips head screwdriver. We have a very small drill bit. We're going to need a 1/8 of an inch drill bit to make a small hole in the wall to see if we have a beam behind it, so that we can screw the blinds into a solid beam. If we do not hit a beam, we'll have to use mollies, but that we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. We're going to need a pencil to mark where we're going to put the brackets, a Phillips head screwdriver for manually installing any screws. These are the brackets that come with the new blinds. Of course, something to measure, possibly a hammer, and an assortment of drill bits. All right, so enough talking. Let's get started and get this job done. Okay, so the first thing we do is we put our brackets up here where we're going to put them on the wall. And like I said, this particular case, we're mounting them on the wall right up here. But it's personal preference. You want to mount it on top of the woodwork or the trim area itself. All right, but this is going to be mounted right here. All right, so what we want to do is we want to determine exactly where we wanted it. We're going to put a small little mark here and here, and then we're going to come in here, we're going to drill these small holes here to accommodate the bracket right here. All right, we're going to do the same thing in the other 3 locations as well. And again, I measured out this where it's going to be, so I know where the bracket is going to go. Obviously, the one bracket is going to be dead center of the window, and the other 2, or in this particular case, are 2.5 inches in from the end of the blinds themselves. All right, so that's where we're going to put the new brackets. All right, so we mark where we want to mount them. We mark the 3rd one where we want to put it. And now we're going to get our drill, and we're going to pre-drill these holes. The reason we're going to pre-drill them is because we don't know if there's going to be a beam behind here or not. Sometimes there is a beam above the window, other times there's not. In this particular case, I have a pretty good feeling there is going to be a beam in there, but we're going to drill a very small pilot hole. Like I said, 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, whichever drill bit you have. I prefer 1/8, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to drill these holes 1/8 inch deep, and the length of the screw itself. All right, so let's do that, and we'll continue. Okay, another reason why you pre-drill these is because if you try to screw them in by hand without pre-drilling them, you're never going to get them straight. They're going to be walking all over the place. So we're going to drill a small hole, and it's going to go in the depth of the screw that we're installing. And you want to drill very slowly. And now you can see by the drill bit how it's giving a little resistance. We know we're drilling into a beam. Now if there was no beam in there, at that point you'd have to drill a hole in here, and you'd have to install a molly in the wall itself. I do have a video on how to install mollies and how to use them. I will put a link in this video so you can see how to use mollies if you need to use them. But here we're going right into a beam, so we're not going to have to use them. Okay, now after we have the pilot holes drilled, we can now install the brackets that were supplied with the new blinds. Now, if you don't have the electric screwdriver, you can do this by hand. just so you know. But in this case, we do have the screwdriver, so we're going to use it. We're going to take our brackets and we're going to put our brackets up on here. And we're not going to tighten anything. We're just going to catch each one of the screws in there first. We're just going to catch it loosely, and then we're going to come in with our second screw and catch that one in there as well. Okay, nice and tight. And now we'll continue down with the other three. Okay, so now we have all three of our brackets connected up where we wanted them. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take the blinds. We're going to put the blinds into the opening, and we'll determine where we're going to put the brackets on the bottom to hold the bottom down to the windowsill. All right, so let's install our blinds. Okay, so now we're going to take our blinds and we're going to put them into the brackets up here where they belong, like this. And now before we snap it in place, we're just going to measure and make sure that our blinds are exactly where we wanted them centered. Okay, and now once we have the correct location, we just take the blinds and snap them up into position where they belong, just like that. Next thing, of course, we're going to take out all of the packing material that came with it. And that's it, our blinds are now mounted up here. Let's determine down on the bottom where we're going to put the brackets to hold the blinds down. Okay, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to install our wand that came with it. And that just goes in here, like that. It pushes right in, and we can tilt the blinds, of course, just like that. Okay, now the next thing we want to determine is if you're going to be using the brackets to hold the blinds down, or if you're not going to be using them. All right, so first thing we're going to do now is we're going to take the blinds, we're going to bring them down here, and we are probably going to use these little brackets that came with it here to hold the blinds in place. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to install these end caps that came with it, and these go into the blinds, and this little tab here fits right in there to hold the blinds exactly where you want it. All right, so now we're going to take this, pull the blinds out, put this in the corner right here, and you just push it. Pushes right in. Same thing on this side over here as well. Just push it in there. There's only one way to go in, just like that, and that's all set. Okay, so now that we determined where we want to put these brackets, we're going to put them right up here where they belong. We marked exactly where they're going to go, and we measured to make sure that the blinds are going to fit exactly in there. All right, so we're going to put them both where they belong. Now we know the blinds themselves. 46.5. Okay, so now we have our brackets in the correct location. We marked them with a pencil where we're going to put them, and now we're going to pre-drill these holes. And again, the reason you're going to pre-drill these is because if you don't pre-drill them, you're going to wind up cracking the woodwork. All right, so we're going to pre-drill the holes first. Now you want to be careful when you're pre-drilling. You don't want to drill through the bottom of the woodwork down here. So be very careful when you're drilling. Okay. Now these, I'm going to screw these in by hand because it is very delicate, the wood. So we're not going to go too tight and wind up cracking anything. Okay, let's do the same thing on this one right here. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're going to bring our blinds down. Just like that. So now the blinds are held, they won't move at all. Alright, so as you can see, installing blinds is fairly easy once you see it done. Just make sure that you pre-drill all the holes before you try to screw anything else in. If you don't pre-drill the holes, you're going to wind up splitting the wood. But that's it, job is done, and we're on to the next one. Now, these blinds do come with a cover for the top up here if you choose to put it on. In this particular case, we're not going to, but if you did, you would just hang the brackets on there and attach the face cover onto it. But that's it, this job is done, and on to the next. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.